right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What was your main takeaway from Wednesday's practice?
I want to go with Demario Douglas and Kayshon Boutte. Like, those guys are really coming into their own and seem like they have some legit chemistry with Drake May. Demario Douglas looked unguardable. The only real miscue that he had today was a drop where he got wide open on an outbreaking route, but he got hit on shallow crossers, one that was kind of behind him. Instant yak mode. Those would have gone for some big plays, had a nice juke as well. And actually the interception came when he got wide open in the end zone, but Drake May said after practice he probably could have licked Bobby Wagner off, but the veteran, been in the league for a long time, he can't do that. He tips the ball, gets picked by Mike Sanders still. And then Kayshon Boutte, very similar to the play we saw a couple of days ago where Drake May on a 4th down, it's kind of a desperate heave. He gives Kayshon a chance along the sideline. Kayshon comes down with it. This time he hit him on a back shoulder fade with Marshawn Lattimore all over Boutte, completed that one for a touchdown. So, Kayshon Boutte is a guy that seems like he's gotten a little bit better every year, and Demario Douglas similar, but there were things we were concerned about coming into the summer, and I think they've quieted a lot of my concerns personally. Really cool to see them again come into their own.
We'll start with, we'll go the other way. Wide receiver. You mentioned Kayshon Boutte has another good day. You mentioned Pop Douglas was virtually unguardable in the middle of the field. It's been an up and down sort of last couple seasons for this wide receiver room for the Patriots. So, Taylor, how much better do they look this year? And I guess we can go rapid fire as far as who do you think makes the team at this point forward, and how do you see the Patriots wide receiver room working out for the rest of the season?
I'll say the biggest thing is they just feel deeper. Like, you've got your reliable veterans, and Matt Collins was a bit inconsistent. He had a couple drops today, but also made some plays as well. Stephon Diggs, it was kind of a weird day today. He wasn't here most of practice and came a little bit later, participated in 7-on-7s. What is you call like multiple passes from Drake May? Yeah. I wasn't watching that period. Got a couple targets from Drake May as well. So you just have the veterans where the young guys don't need to necessarily see the field, but you're still seeing flashes from Javon Baker, who had a slant touchdown. Still some of the brain farts as well, but still showing some flash. Efton Chism did really well with the backup offense. It was a quiet day from Kyle Williams, but yeah, I think it is better because last year I think it was just a rough offense to watch where the guys that are even returning weren't really to the standard they are now, and there wasn't a whole lot behind them. Like KJ Osborne, it really kind of felt like a 180 in a lot of ways. The Patriots practice last year against the Eagles and the Commanders practice this year. In terms of who makes the roster, at this point it feels like Stephon Diggs. This might not make people happy, but like Matt Collins, Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, and Kayshon Boutte feel like they're really the locks. I think Javon Baker's definitely got a leg up. We've seen him work with the top offense more than anybody. And then it's maybe Efton Chism and Ja'Lynn Polk could be fighting for a spot there. I'd give the edge to Efton Chism just because Ja'Lynn Polk's been relatively quiet to this point.
I still can't quit Efton Chism. I mean, he hasn't been piling up the numbers that he was in the spring necessarily, but he is unguardable on the first and second levels. Gave Jonathan Jones the work, I think, on another one of those whip routes where Danny Amendola was in attendance today, and he's been watching a lot of Danny Amendola films. So hopefully they got together. And, I think 4 catches from Dobbs. So hopefully, if he has a good preseason game Friday night, he maybe starts to get some action with Drake May. But he seems ahead of Ja'Lynn Polk if you're looking in that competition. Polk just had 1 target, 1 catch from Dobbs today. And then, Javon's still working with those guys as well in that competition.
Where we have a wide receiver.
I have property on Efton Chism Island as well, Brian. So you can buy the house next door, and we can share property on the island. Land Larison Island's like a ferry ride away. It's right across the bay there, so you can have that island too. I think I continue to just be really impressed by Pop because we all knew he was quick. We all knew he had that jitterbug. We all knew he could do all those things and separate. I mean, every year his metrics with separation are always off the charts. So you can always tell that he has that quickness. But his ability to grasp the nuances of the slot role in Josh McDaniels' offense has really caught me a little bit by surprise. I wasn't sure if that element of the game would be able to catch on as quickly as it has. Drake May was on with Kay Adams last week. He said he's running the right routes. He's lining up in the right places. So that was an area where he maybe struggled with in the past and is starting to figure that out now. And just seeing him just attack leverage and understand where the openings are, understanding how to beat man coverage and seeing it the same picture the way that Drake is seeing it, even like settling in zones. Like that was a big issue for him last year at times as well. He seems much better at doing those little things. And when you have his quickness and his separation ability, if you combine the mental aspect of that with it, now we're talking about a guy that could potentially threaten for 80, 85 catches in a season, something like that, instead of 60, 65 catches. I'm with Taylor. The 5 guys he mentioned are probably on this football team. I'd give Javon Baker the last spot.
I wanted to ask you that. Where are you at on Baker versus Polk? And that sort of second-year class coming in. Where are you in terms of roster spots right now?
The way I look at it is that there's only one Javon Baker on the roster in terms of the way that he moves, but there's like 6 Ja'Lynn Polks. And if you look at it that way, like Baker, he has this like specimen thing going on where like he's got the downfield like build up speed. He's also got that ability to win above the rim and win contested catches down the field. Like how many real jump ball winners do they have on the roster if Javon Baker is not here? Not many. So I just look at his skill set as different than the rest of the room, whereas I look at Ja'Lynn Polk's skill set as highly redundant to the rest of the room, and that makes it difficult for me to see a role for him moving forward. So they 6'1", 6'2", 4'5", 40, 205 pounds. Like that, they don't have anybody else in the room that's built like Javon Baker. So I would hang on to him for a little bit.
What are you at on Baker, Taylor? Because I know that you've been up and down.
Yeah, I'm at the same point. I mean, I still would like to see him just have one completely positive practice where he doesn't have before he had the touchdown, he almost had a fade intercepted, and when he did score, he threw the ball in the air. What might have been a penalty in a real game.
Threw the ball in the air. He covers it.
It was funny.
The grenade celebration.
It was a good celebration, but again,
Celebrate
just like the
your success,
consistency.
kid.
But he deserves to be on. He deserves to be on the team. I think more so than a Ja'Lynn Polk to this point.
I'm with you with the inconsistencies, and with Evan, like the skill set isn't on the roster, right? Because they have a jump ball guy, maybe Mac Hollins, but he doesn't have that vertical speed.
Right.
And then if you want the vertical speed and a guy like Kyle Williams on the outside, then you're a little smaller. He hasn't shown that ability to maybe go up above the rim and haul in a contested catch. So Javon, they don't have that at the X position on that side.
I'm glad you mentioned Kyle Williams. I want to hit on him before we rotate to the offensive line and Drake May. Not a lot of action for Kyle Williams today. He's been involved with that first offense, rotating in with Mac Hollins, with Kayshon Boutte at the X as well as the Z. Not a lot of action for him today against the Commanders. Does that worry you that you didn't see much from him today?
It doesn't really worry me. Going back to what I said, like the young guys don't have to play this year, which is something we haven't really been able to say, where typically it's been, all right, if they're going to surprise, one of these young guys has to step up and do something. But now, like when you look at it, they're already rotating with the veterans, where if they do have 3 receivers and they kind of lived in 11 personnel, which makes me start to feel like they could carry more receivers than we might anticipate. But like with Mac, Diggs, Pop, and Boutte, those are really your top 4 guys. You can just fit Mac Hollins in there wherever you want, but it doesn't really discourage me because Kyle Williams was running with the 2s, and that's with Efton Chism, and that's where you expect, considering again the depth they have above him.
And he still worked in sometimes with Drake in that top unit, so he's getting those looks. But again, you don't need to rely on him, which I think is a positive for a rookie year.
Yeah, I don't worry too much about the reps, but just big picture, I just wonder, is he really an X? And I think this is a conversation for bigger picture maybe down the line, but I think he's really good at releasing off the line of scrimmage on go routes. We've seen him get behind the defense a few times, maybe earlier on in training camp on some of those go balls, but at the first 2 levels, he doesn't have that separation ability, that physicality to get off press, but not just get off, but also at the top of the route. Like when he runs a comeback, like he's got to be able to use his body and win positioning there and fight for the football a little bit better, like we saw on the very first day of training camp against Christian Gonzalez. Like if that is the way he's going to be moving forward, then great. But if not, like I just wonder, especially in this McDaniels offense, if he plays the flanker and they can motion him into things, stacks, free releases off the line of scrimmage, and just let him run and use his speed, that might be a better role for him in the long term than asking him to beat backside coverage as an X receiver on a consistent basis.
And to that point, when it comes to the route running, it feels like whenever he has to run an intermediate route, he's kind of wearing coverage. Like we've seen Alex Austin get a couple breakups on him when he's running comebacks or out routes. I wonder if it's tempoing. Like we know he has his speed and he is a good route runner in college, but in the NFL, every step you make on that break counts. And sometimes it feels like he does get stuck a little bit and allows some of those more savvy veteran corners, especially in certain situations where they know you're not running past this depth, they can kind of sit on those things. So yeah, absolutely great point. The separation is something I'd like to see him improve on a little more down the road.
I'll just say on that too, like everyone worries about the rookie wide receivers here in New England, right? We haven't seen necessarily a step back from Kyle Williams. Everyone around him is just playing pretty good as well. Like this wide receiver competition is so much different than it's been in the last couple of years. So long story short, alarm bells aren't on with Kyle Williams just yet. He's still got a long way to go.